Hi everyone, welcome back to day 21 of Christmas in July 2025. My name is Chris O'Neill. I'm so glad you're here. I've always wanted to make an I Spy quilt with a Christmas theme. Now I've made a regular I Spy quilt and I have a video on that. I thought a Christmas one would be a lot of fun. So today we're going to look at novelty fabrics. I'm going to talk about focus cutting, or fussy cutting as it's sometimes called. And I'm also going to show you the block that I think would be really cute for an I Spy quilt and give you some tips and tricks along the way. It's a little bit of a twist on something you might already know, but I think it'll help you if you want to do this too, or if you're using just directional fabrics. So let's first start talking about fabrics in general. And I have a pile of novelty prints to talk about, so let's get started. Okay, so this Santa print, it's really cute, but you can see it's a directional, but it's a flipped directional. So it can be straight this way or this way, because some Santas are standing upright and some are on their head, depending on which way you put it. Now, if you put it this way, they'd all be on their side. If that doesn't bother you, that's fine. This is just one example of a directional fabric. Now this one, on the other hand, only goes one direction, as you can see. So if it's something you want to have in a quilt and that would bother you having it sideways or something, that might be something to think about. This one is what they call tossed. So any way that you look at it, it's gonna look right because the motifs are tossed about in it. And I love this print. This is one of my favorites. I'll be sad when this is gone. So I have one other example, a couple other examples actually. All right, now this one is stripes. It's not necessarily directional, but you might want to be thinking about the direction of the fabric when you're using it, if you want it to go this way or this way. And it's also important to remember that if it's off just a little bit, it might not look great. Again, if that bothers you, that's totally up to you. That would bother me. This one, same type of thing, except for it's a tossed design, but we do have lines in the background. So when you're looking at fabric, it might be something to think about. And finally, this one, when you're looking at motifs to focus cut, make sure of what you're looking at. This particular print has one area that looks a little inappropriate. I don't want to point it out to you because I don't want to, I don't want to point it out to you, especially if kids are watching. But there is one spot where it is questionable if that area is cut. Now the reason I know this is because I use this particular fabric in a quilt, and it just so happened that that particular area that didn't quite look right stood out like a sore thumb. Just a word of caution. So when you're thinking about this, look at all of the variations of it. Another thing you want to consider, depending on the block size, is if the motif is too big. So this one in particular is quite big. It's cute, it's adorable, but it is a bigger print. So if I were making something kind of small, like say 2.5 by 2.5, I could lose the whole essence basically of this. It's just something to keep in mind. All right, let's talk about actual focus cutting. So I have this adorable fabric. I love this one too. This is old. If I wanted to get, say, this guy right in the middle and I wanted a 5-inch square, the best way, or the quickest way, easiest way, is to use a 5-inch ruler. If you don't have a 5-inch ruler, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to do it without it. But you would lay the center point right in the center of the motif, and you'd want to make sure it's centered as best as possible. You can measure if you want to, but you can also just eyeball it, which to me that looks good. And do I have a glow on it. Right there's the mark. Now I can do a couple things. I can draw around this with a pen. You could even use just a pencil or something like that, because the edges will get caught in the seam allowance, you won't see it. Or you can go right to cutting. If you're gonna go right to cutting, I suggest a rotating mat or walking around the table, because you really don't wanna move this. And to cut this, I would just, here, let me get a rotating mat, my scraggly one. I just line this up. I want to pay close attention to my 1/4 inch and what's going to be included, because that's not gonna be seen in the actual block. And then I would just cut around it with my rotary cutter. Now, if I don't have a block that's 5 inches, but I want 5 inches, I can use a bigger block, or a bigger ruler rather, and I can mark off 5 inches. I just have some washi tape here. Washi tape's just paper tape. Let's see. my 5-inch. And you can just put a little bit here. You can also use a marker. You can use a Sharpie and use alcohol to take it off. Here's the thing, rubbing alcohol, I feel like ruins the plastic. I know a lot of people are using that method, but I feel it ruins the plastic. Another idea is to use a wet erase marker to mark it. There's many different options. Now the tricky part about this is you need to find your center point and mark that, because the center of the actual ruler is right here, but that's not the center of the 5-inch mark. So we're gonna go over 2.5 inches, go over, and then 2.5. So it's right here. The little arrow is pointing to it, but you can just put a little bit of tape there and know it's that little corner. So at that point, you can just line that center spot up, make sure that you still have your 1/4 inch around, everything looks centered, and cut this side and this side, turn it and cut the other 2 sides. Personally, I think it's worth the time if you're gonna be doing this to invest in a square the size that you need, but that's just my opinion. Just a thought. You could also draw this out first and then cut it out, making sure that it is the way you want it. So that's my whole spiel on these wonderful novelty prints. Let's make a block. So we're gonna make a disappearing 9-patch block, but it's gonna have a little bit of a twist because I'm gonna be using some directional fabrics, and I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna make sure that they're the right configuration once the disappearing 9-patch is made. Now, if you have questions about the disappearing 9-patch, Karen Brown from Just Get It Done Quilts has an awesome tutorial on everything disappearing 9-patches. She has wonderful downloadables that are free, all kinds of stuff. So check her out. I'll put a link below in the first comment, and I'll also put it in the description. You truly can make these in any size, and you can have a lot of fun with them. So let's lay one out. So I have my background fabric. This is gonna be the borders. Eventually, it'll make sense. And I'm gonna be making a 9-patch. And this is gonna be the cornerstones. Again, it will make sense, the center blocks. So you have your backgrounds like this, and then your center block. Now the motifs I'm going to use are, I have that little bear, isn't he cute? I'm gonna use him, but I'm gonna place him in a minute. I have this tossed design. Now when I'm putting these in, I have 2 of them that are directionals, and they're only one direction. I'm going to place them upside down. It will make sense, I promise. Just like that. So this one and this one, opposite corners are upside down. And this is really only important if you're gonna be making an I Spy disappearing 9-patch, or if you have directional fabrics you're using. If you're not, you can just go to town making your 9 patches. So it's going to be sewn together in rows, and then those rows are gonna be sewn together so you get a 9-patch. Now for pressing, you can choose to press towards the background, or you can choose to press towards these motifs. Either will work, just be consistent with whatever you choose, and then the seams will nest nicely. All right, I already made one, so let me get it. Okay, so you can see my Santa is upside down, and this is upside down. It's also a little off over here. Oh, it points a little off. That's okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. All right, so this should measure 14 inches if you're using 5-inch squares. Again, you can make it in any size you want. Now this is where the fun comes in. Everything's nice and flat, ready to go. You're gonna take a ruler that's longer than 14 inches for this size, and you're gonna measure over 2.25 inches. Now why 2.25? Well, because this block right here, the center, is 4.5. So we're gonna split that in half. Depending on the size you use, you're gonna do different things. You're gonna have different measurements. It's always half of whatever that measurement is in the middle. So we are going to go over 2.25. So we're lining up these lines and these lines and these lines, and we're just trying to line it up on the ruler. We're not really worried about these edges right now. Once we have it lined up really well, you're gonna cut. Now if you can, go around the table and cut the other direction. Because I'm doing this video, I'm just gonna nicely turn this and try to keep it lined up. You could also use a rotating mat. Or you actually could do these one at a time. That's another option. So I am measuring in 2.25 inches and cutting. All right, now we had it like this. Let me move this over to get it in camera and frame. All right, a little bit better. Just like this. This was our 9-patch. We cut this way, we cut this way. All I'm going to do is pick this one up and turn it around, pick this one up and turn it around. And now you can see that your directional fabrics are standing upright. It worked. So we sew these two together, then everything together, and you have a beautiful block. I'm gonna go do that. I'll meet you back here. Here it is, isn't it cute? I love this. And you can see that if you just change out that white for a different color, you can have a really colorful quilt. This is your center square, so you could change the colors on this. You can make it super duper scrappy. Have some fun with this and enjoy making them. You could even make some really beautiful ones with some of the wonderful collections that are out there. Oh, so pretty. Table runners, all kinds of stuff. You can have a lot of fun with this, and I hope you do. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you take some time to sew, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.